What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Marriage and Medicine. On today's video, we'll be talking about just when's the best time to do different life goals in medicine in general.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people ask, I see in different Facebook groups or just like when you hang out, people always ask like, when's the best time to do this? When's the best time to do that? And it's like, there is no best time.
It's not a thing.
There's just no best time, period. It's like, what time can you live with more than that one? So for us, because people will ask, when's the best time to get married? Obviously there isn't, but I think for us, we got married after TJ's first year of medical school. And for us, that felt like the best time because that's the last summer that you have that's free. Like, you don't have any obligations. There's nothing you have to do. So for us, we felt like that was the best time because we were able to get married. We were able to do our honeymoon and just have the time newly married to just spend time together.
Right.
So I would say for sure that time is the best. Of course, if you could get married before medical school, like that's even better. But I feel like those are the times where it's less stressful in the medical journey to get married, if that's something you're considering doing.
And the other best time would probably be fourth year. Fourth year is, I know, it sounds crazy, but
First or fourth year?
First or fourth year. Second year, you're getting killed doing stuff, studying for step one. Third year, you're doing clinical stuff all the time. Those two are terrible. But fourth year, you have a lot of downtime. You kind of do all your interviews and all that stuff. And then most of the time, by the second half of the year, you're not really doing anything at all. So you can definitely plan a wedding, have a wedding, do a honeymoon, all that stuff during that time as well.
And that's another thing, like if people say they only have time to get married, but they can't honeymoon, then people ask like, okay, when's the best time to take a honeymoon? In medical school, I can't remember, but like every summer, there's some kind of an obligation that you have to fulfill, like
between second and third year, as well as third and fourth year, there's always something. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't.
Between first and second year, again, you're free. You usually have like a winter break as well, so you can always try to schedule some kind of winter break type of thing. And during those summers, you have the step one and step two exams.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's like there's something that you do that you can't do anything else. But
yeah. Sometimes you can get that test out the way early, and then you can have some time on the back end in order to be able to enjoy some time out vacationing somewhere.
Yeah, so I would say if you couldn't honeymoon when you got married, maybe the best time would be to do it right after the first year, or you might just have to wait till the end of medical school and take a honeymoon graduation trip all in one. But another one I got is when is the best time to have a child, which is like no idea. We've met a lot of people that have had kids during medical school, like have had multiple kids. And then we've had some that waited till after medical school. Some had them before medical school. So I feel like that is dependent on your situation. For us, we decided to wait until after medical school because, number one, we didn't get married until like kind of in the middle of that. And we wanted to just have the time for just us two. Like we didn't want to have a child right away. We wanted a few years to just spend with just the two of us. Mm-hmm. So we waited until residency. Also, because in residency you start to get paid.
Get some money. Yeah. Kind of important.
And for us, when TJ was in medical school, I was the one working, and on a teacher's salary, it is like hard to do anything. Yeah, so it just wasn't. It could be possible, but I felt like it would have made it harder to have a child at that time. So for us, we waited. We ended up having a child during the first year of residency, and
the latter half of residency.
Yeah, but it was still the first year. We got pregnant like right at the beginning of residency, and then had her towards the end of that first year. But I don't feel like there was any like serious stress in doing that.
No. I mean, I think different residencies are different in terms of level of stress. EM, I mean, you work hard, but you also get more time off than other residencies. So for EM, it worked pretty well. If you're in surgery and those kind of things, maybe a little more stress on the household a little bit, just because you're away much more than I was essentially. but it's definitely still possible altogether.
Yeah, that's something to consider. Your intern year, that's what they call the first year of residency. Depending on what specialty you chose, some might be a little bit harder than others trying to transition and get used to that. So that might be something you have to consider as well. And then when is the best time to have more kids? We don't know because we don't have any more.
Just one.
But I know like we've talked about when we would like to expand our family, and just for us, we would rather wait and space them out a little bit more. Like I don't want to have kids back to back to back. I kind of want to have a few years gap in between just to space them out in age a little bit. But that's personal preference. So really, I feel like when it comes to having kids and starting a family or growing your family, you have to do that based on when you feel like you and your partner are ready. No one can really tell you when's the right time to start. Exactly. So I would just say when you're trying to figure that out to think about finances, because kids are expensive. Like literally,
early on at least,
a box of diapers is like $35, and they go through that. You have to buy those like every week or like every 2 weeks. It's ridiculous. And then if they're on formula's like $30, and they drink through that like every week.
Right.
I'm just saying. Yeah. Think about the finance aspect of it. Like, you know, if both of you are working, if only one of you is working, think about that. And then just think about, are you ready? Like, do you want to do that? If you want to do it and you feel like you can afford it and it's okay to do, then do it.
Exactly.
There's no other way around that.
Yeah. In terms of this last one here, when's the best time to buy a car or buy a house, those kind of things? If your car breaks down, you have no transportation and you need a car, buy a car. But don't buy an expensive car. Buy something that can really just get you through until you can get to the point where you're making a good salary, whether it's residency where you also have a chance to moonlight and make more money, or if it's when you get to your attending job. Don't go and blow money that you don't have. If you're in medical school and your spouse either isn't working or isn't making enough money to afford it, don't go buying a new expensive car that you pay down with loans. Not smart at all. Essentially, you end up paying way more money down the road on those kind of situations. But if you need a car, buy something that you can just get around, a little hoopty, as they call it. Yeah, little hoopty. Everybody had one at some point, I'm sure.
I didn't.
Lucky you.
I'm sorry.
I had me a little 1998 Saturn. That boy still riding today. I don't ride anymore, but
I was gonna say I don't think.
No,
like it functions, but
my dad still be driving it when he's trying to work. So yeah, it works.
But I would say like you don't have to just buy a new car when you like your car breaks down. But that's the spender in me talking. Like I'm not saying to go out and buy a car. Like I bought one this year, now I'm gonna turn around and buy another one again. Like no, that's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But I also don't think you have to wait until your car breaks down to buy a new car. Like. I feel like if you're
until the wheels fall off. Right, until the wheels fall off.
I'm not like that. I feel like if you're at a place where you can afford it, number one, then it's fine to buy a car. Like obviously within reason, don't make it a habit of buying cars like every year or every 2 years. But if you can afford to buy a new car, then buy a new car. If you can afford to buy a house, then buy a house. But the issue is that people assume when they get to residency that, oh, I'm making money now, I can go out and buy a new car, and then I'm gonna go out and buy a new house, and you end up in like so much debt and way over your head that all you can do is just work because you can't, like you're trying to afford these things that you got, and you don't have to do that. So
yeah, and me personally, the way I think about it is when we say if you can afford it, my thought is that means you can pay for it in cash. That doesn't mean like, oh, I can afford these payments monthly. Like, no, by afford it, my thought is being able to pay for it in cash.
And that's not my, but what I mean by afford it is like, well, because we bought a new car in the first year of residency.
Yeah,
we had to buy it before we were pregnant already at the time, but I had a convertible Mustang, and I'm like, I can't get a car seat back here for her. That's not gonna work. And technically we could have not bought a car and just swapped cars, but ultimately we had to buy a bigger car for our family. So what I mean by when you can afford a car is that think about like how much is your current car worth? If you were to trade it in, how much worth could you get from that car? And then also think about, can you put money down on the car? If you can't, it may not be a good time to buy a new car, but if you can and you are saving up for that, then I feel like it's okay to go ahead and buy a new car. We had a pretty good trade-in value for my car. Plus, we put down a really good payment on it as well. So that helped make the cost of the car a lot smaller. So for us, I felt like that was affordable. Well,
in that situation,
that car that we got was a little bit more than what we were originally trying to get.
Yeah, for sure.
But we made it work. Okay. So I feel like if you're able to do the same, if you can put down a down payment and you have a good trade-in value and all of those things, then yes, it could be considered affordable and you can get a new car. But going out and buying a house and you don't put any down payment and you don't even have a plan, I don't think that's a good idea at all.
In terms of thinking about when to buy a house, most people will say during medical school or during residency is likely not a good time. Mainly because you don't know where you're going to be over the next couple of years. So during medical school, you don't know where you're going for residency. You'll be there for 4 years. The chances, there's a possibility you may not make your money back on the house. So it could end up being a loss. And on top of that, you have to pay for all of the expenses, all of the repairs. That all comes out of pocket. And if you're on a medical school budget, you're essentially talking about loans. So that means you're paying more loans for you to be able to fix up your house, which equals more interest down the road and more money altogether. Same thing during residency. Again, you don't know where you're going to be. If you're going to be there, like for me, I'm doing emergency medicine, so that's 3 years. Most of the time, you have to be in a house for at least 5 years for you to get to the point where you're actually at least breaking even or making money on the house, depending on what market you're in and those kind of things. So during residency is also probably not a good time to do it.
Yeah, if you're in a residency, there are residents or specialties that have a 5-year residency. In that aspect, I would feel like, again, if you can afford it, you have the down payment and all that stuff, sure, go ahead and buy a house. But for us, we decided to wait on buying a house, number one, because we want to save and, set us up for success with that. But number two, we knew like in medical school, there's no guarantee that you're going to be staying in that same spot. We ended up moving, so we went from North Carolina to South Carolina. In residency, it was the same thing. There's no guarantee that you're going to be getting your job in that same state or city or anything. So we were like, let's just wait until we're at the very end. We finished all the training, and then we can go and buy our house when we know we got our job and where we're likely to stay a few years. So we haven't bought our first house yet, but hopefully within like the next year or two, we'll be making that move. So I'm excited.
Knock out these loans first. Knock out these loans.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. She got the itch already. She got the itch. But yeah, so that's kind of some of our thoughts about kind of just different timeline things or when you can kind of hit certain milestones. But yeah, if you have any other suggestions or comments, please feel free to leave a comment. We'll see you in the next video.